My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, and that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins and the grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. Saint Josemaria, the founder of Opus Dei, he had the custom of repeating short vocal prayers throughout the day. He called these aspirations because he wanted them to be as constant as his breathing, these short prayers that kind of rolled off the tongue and that he could say frequently to himself throughout the day as a way of staying close to you, Jesus, as a way of living the presence of God all through the day in anything he was doing, whether he was working or resting, whether he was alone or with other people. And one of the aspirations that he repeated with more frequency towards the end of his life was from Psalm 27. And he would say the phrase in Latin, Vultum tum domine requiram, which means, Lord, I long to see your face. And he repeated this often, I think, as he was nearing the end of his life, looking towards the future, looking towards heaven. Lord, I long to see your face. This is from St. Josemaria. Vultum tum domine requiram. Your face, O Lord, I long to see. I'd like to close my eyes and think that when God wills, the moment will come when I will be able to see him not as in a mirror, dimly, but face to face. Yes, my heart yearns for God, for the living God. When shall I go and behold the face of God? Jesus, we make this aspiration of St. Josemaria our own. Vultum tum domine requiram. Lord, I long to see your face. And we can ask ourselves this question in this time of prayer. Where is Jesus? Where are you, Lord? Where do we see you? Where do we look for you? That was a desire that Philip made clear in the upper room during the Last Supper. You'll recall how in his excitement, Philip turns to Jesus and says, "Show us the Father, and that will be enough." And you, Jesus, respond, "Philip, have I been with you so long, and yet you still do not know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father." And there is a tension there because Jesus, for the apostles, that isn't obvious. And so you have to point it out to them. And they're looking at you all the time. But somehow they were missing out on your face. They were not seeing you as you truly are. When they looked at you, they weren't seeing the Father. He who sees me sees the Father. Jesus, help us to see you clearly. And where do we see you? Obviously, we'll see you in heaven. That's our ultimate desire, right? Is to behold the face of God and to struggle in this life to reach heaven. But you also want us to see you now, to look for you now. And today's gospel gives us a clue. Jesus said to his disciples, "When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit upon his glorious throne, and all the nations will be assembled before him. And he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. A stranger, and you welcomed me. Naked, and you clothed me. Ill, and you cared for me. In prison, and you visited me.'" Then the righteous will answer him and say, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you ill or in prison and visit you? And the king will say to them in reply, Amen, I say to you, whatever you did for one of these least brothers of mine, you did for me. And then the narrative continues with what we could call the negative imprint. The same descriptions, but in the negative. You did not feed me. You did not clothe me. You did not visit me in prison, etc. And a similar confusion on the part of the goats, like the sheep, saying, when did we not see you? And you answer them, Lord, saying, Amen, I say to you, what you did not do for one of these least ones, you did not do for me. Now, one characteristic of this gospel passage is its repetitiveness. You, Jesus, essentially repeat the same thing 4 times. There's a strong emphasis on the gestures of charity, the specific actions of charity, what love for you, Jesus, looks like in the concrete. And those gestures are so important that you list them out. You describe them specifically and repeatedly. And it's telling that the goats, those who fell short in their love, they sound almost glib or flippant in their complaint. Notice that unlike the sheep, they don't list out the gestures in detail, but they kind of rush through a summary, kind of like a Sparks Notes version of what Jesus is saying. They want to cut to the chase. And maybe that's the problem. These goats never paid attention to the details of the real, specific gestures of charity. They approached the question of loving you, Jesus, in too abstract a way. And so they didn't see you. We repeat the phrase we begin with in this time of prayer, Vultum tum Domine requiram. Lord, I long to see your face, but where do I find you? Where am I looking for you? We have to look for the normal face of Jesus, the face of Jesus that can seem unglamorous or unspectacular, but that is hidden, as it were, in the faces of those around me. Am I paying attention to those faces? Am I loving those faces? How are we living charity? Because this is how we see Jesus and love him. You know, Dorothy Day was a woman who was in New York City, the city where I live, and there is her cause of canonization underway. And there was a beautiful exposition in St. Patrick's Cathedral describing her life and her work and her thought. And on one of the posters hanging in the exposition, there was a quote of hers that has always haunted me ever since I read it. She says, I really only love God as much as the person I love the least. Right? I really only love God as much as I love the person I love the least. That's a very high bar. That in a sense, we're only seeing Jesus, we're only loving Jesus in as much as we see and love the person we're most likely prone to neglect or avoid or despise. Jesus, this will be our resolution today, to determine who it is that we are loving the least, and then turn around and look again. It's a little bit like hide and seek, where we have to go back to that place that we already looked before and look again. And this time, Jesus, in that soul that you're placing by my side, I truly want to see you. For Lord, I long to see your face. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations that you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask your help in putting them into effect. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.